for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for your love and support and joining us. If you can, give us a big thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. We have a big goal of wanting to help 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. And I think big, and we start going through those towards those goals, and we started at the beginning of the organization coming about, really marching towards that. Where we can, where there's opportunities to share, we share. Where there's opportunities to have conversations and share feedback, we do that. So thank you for joining us. If this is your first episode, we have over 190 episodes in our catalog. We're on YouTube, Rumble, and all the audio podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're on it. There's something for everybody. So I guess one thing I just wanted to address, I just realized it, which it's interesting as somebody who spends a lot of time in front of the cameras really, depending on where we're at, looking at our appearance and what we wear and all those things. So first things first is, I got some pretty wild hair. And I had one of my checkups today with my therapist. And we talked and we chatted and kind of joked about it. And I said, because I'm 43 years old. And so I said, I said, really the only thing that's different between how my hair is now and how it was back in the day is I had the frosted tips on the hair back in the day, in the 90s and such. And so we just kind of chuckled about that. And then I said, well, I guess since I do have gray hair coming in on the sides and various parts, I said, well, those frosted tips could be, instead of the blonde frost tips, it could be the gray frosted tips, because obviously going on and gaining with years, that's something. And I don't color my hair, at least I haven't. I have over the years at certain points, but it's been quite a long time since I did that. So kind of what you see is what you get. So that's kind of the first thing. And the second thing I noticed is I kind of got the Into Trenches t-shirt on. And I like to, again, just come to you in the raw form, the raw sense that many times we are wearing our Voices for Voices branded clothing, accessories. But for a couple of these episodes that we have done, kind of we have content that comes to us at different parts of the day. So sometimes in the morning, some content comes to me, and I want to make sure that I share, because as my mind is, if I don't have it written down, I'm probably going to forget about it. It doesn't mean it's not important, but I'll probably forget about it if I don't write it down or I don't do it right at that point. And so obviously different parts of the day, we're wearing different outfits and clothing. And I saw, just the white undershirt, and it actually reminds me of my my grandpa greenhouse on my mom's dad, and I have very fond memories of all my grandparents and that. Uh, but one thing I remember that kind of comes out is many times that I would see him at their house. He would have a white T-shirt, but then he would actually have suspenders on and a pair of pants, and so that I guess I'm throwing throwing a shout out to heaven. My grandpa greenhouse, my mom's dad, uh, and so yeah, I got just the white T-shirt on, and that's that's how it is. That's where we're coming from at this point in time. So we talk about stigma and mental health, and we talked about medications, and if we get to the point where certain medications are not being offered as they had been because of some type of government intervention, we talked about that would be a form of a stigma of saying, oh, nope, we know better, and you should not be taking this medication, that it does more harm than good. And I talked about my individual experience and how we, me as an individual, and us Voices for Voices as an organization, that if the time comes, we were more than happy to come to Capitol Hill, chat with representatives, senators, cabinet members, RFK, President Trump, and just share our experience. So we're not saying that we're right, but what I am saying is the position I'm in because of medications tied to my mental health, mental illnesses that I have, that I wouldn't be, I don't want to say 100%. I may not be here. May not have been here to film this episode if in November 2017, if medications weren't prescribed based off of my diagnoses and how my body was adjusting. So we want to make sure that the ideas about the medication that's given to each individual as they have their visits. And so somebody else might go to a visit and say, I'm not taking any medication. Well, I'll tell you what, before and leading into 2017, I had in my mind, I'm like, I am not, no way, no how, taking mental health or any type of medication, because it was going to impact my drinking and substances, alcohol, as we're talking, because I was doing research and right, so certain things just don't mix, and alcohol and other substances don't really mix well with certain medications, and so that's what I was reading into. I'm like, well, that's not going to be me. I'm not taking medication. And so that was one of those hard-headed things that I was coming in defense of, that, well, that's not going to be me on medication. I'm not going to be taking it the rest of my life or for a period of time. Nope. But when I swallowed my pride, and my ego, which is super hard, some of you may think I still have an ego, and that's your opinion. And there's members of my family that think I do as well. So, we're not perfect. Try the best we can. But I'm in a much better place today as we're filming this. So whether you're watching or listening or reading a transcript or a blog, the medication really, for me, has helped. And so we're talking about forms of stigma. So there's that stigma of, well, we're going to tell you what you can take and can't take, or what's going to be made available. Maybe for schizophrenia, there's medications that are available, but for depression, there might not be, or anxiety. And those are the types of things. And, kind of, in a way, a little bit of discrimination comes into play there. But no, I mean, we're 100% on board with the U.S. government. We want everybody in the administration. We want our country to succeed. We are patriotic, and so this is just an area of conversation that if we're able to have with members of the government and the cabinet of the Trump administration, or President Trump himself, more than happy to do that, because we do have a pretty good following, a lot of downloads, and we're not just, again, in one concentrated area. We're worldwide, as you see some of our hashtags that come out. Worldwide. Well, we are. I'd say when you're reaching, we're probably reaching even more than that. This is just what the analytics that are available, and the cookies that we're able to get, and that we're able to find, that over 50 countries, 550 plus cities across the world. So that's why I throw out the meeting with government officials, that we love to have the conversation, testify in front of a congressional body, as we see different investigations that go on. And so we'd like to just have that opportunity to share our experience, and again, share our voice, and that's where that comes from. So as we move forward on the stigma, so I'm going to pull up a photo, which you may see, may not see. So this was a post that we put out, called, it says, there's nine different headshots of me at various times, and says the faces of depression. And so we put that out, and big tech doesn't like that, because I don't know, they just don't like that. They don't like certain things, just as us as individuals, we don't like certain things. Excuse me. And I believe the stigma is there in this respect, because certain content of ours has been moved and not made available to certain countries and territories for that particular post. And so I started thinking, I'm like, well, that's really just continuing the stigma, mental health, depression specifically, because for whatever reason, some of big tech doesn't want to show that. They don't want to have that shown to some of their users. And so that's a stigma. So that makes me feel worse about the situation. Here I am trying to share information that's like, okay, you or individuals may see Voices for Voices, that we're doing a ton of different things, and it looks like, oh, they're doing so many things, so much content, and so many shows and episodes, and all these things. Well, behind, let's say, behind the face, we might have a smiley face, and we're carrying that around, but behind it, not always, the, the most happy faces when individuals like myself to have depression. So I wanted to share that because I wanted to hopefully touch one person so they know they're not alone, that somebody else is going through and dealing with this. And so yeah, I'm dealing with day in and day out. And there's also a reason to share that because a lot of people think that, oh, I'm cured, I'm healed from my mental illnesses, and I'm using it as a crutch, and I don't want to get better. And again, it's tough when it comes from people really close, family, and that, because we don't want to say, well, no, you don't understand. That's part of it. Uh, I mean, I've been in the wrong a lot of times, so I'm nobody to judge. Um, but I'm not using any of this as a crutch. I've put tens of thousands of dollars of my own money into this organization. And so that's what you see, that's what you hear when you hear and see Voices for Voices, and you see our TV show and podcast, you hear our podcast, see us at events, out in the community. So if I was using it as a crutch, if I was using it as a crutch and I wasn't trying to get better, then I wouldn't be all in myself. And I don't have unlimited money, and it's really it's just tough to get that point across. So that stigma is still out there, and showing those 9 faces of mine and saying faces of depression. And so for big tech or anybody to censor that, I don't agree with, because it's true. I do have depression, and they were my faces. They were not altered by any inkling. And so that really bothers me. And it bothers me because there are individuals in areas where it's censored that may have a little bit of inspiration, again, that they're not alone. That back in 2017, when I was sitting around that table for the first time after voluntarily admitting myself into the psych ward, and I saw other individuals, we all didn't have the exact same reason for why we were there. But I shared why I was there, and they shared why they were there. And to this day, I look back at that time and say, I'm not alone. And I'm saying to you, you're not alone, whatever the situation. Your friends aren't alone. Your family aren't alone. Your colleagues, uh, anybody who's going through something is not alone. We're all going through something. We are. And it's not just a cliche. It's not just a fad, but we are. We're all going through different things. We're all going through different forms of trauma. And I'll get into some areas of trauma in future episodes that I haven't quite explained a lot. And it's interesting because I remember talking to one of my therapists, and this was before we really earnestly got into the TV show and podcast here. I asked him, I said, I'm fearful that I'm going to run out of things to do. Like I do an episode and then I'm not going to have a thought for a next one, or I'm not going to have a thought of a guest or an idea of how we can partner with organizations and uh, how we can really, you know, take what we're doing and take what other organizations are doing and to continue towards that goal of helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. And he said, he's like, Justin, you're not going to have to worry about that. He's like, you got plenty of ideas and you're not going to run out. And here I am again since November 2017, and I haven't run out of ideas yet. And so it what was a little bit of a unsureness and a little bit of a joking turned into in his reality. And I'm grateful that I don't have that I'm not coming up dry with ideas, and our organization isn't, because then that puts me and anybody else in a very vulnerable position. And as I use our Voices for Voices TV show and podcast, I use it as therapy and a way of coping and a way of sharing, much as if I'm journaling and I write down a thought or an idea to get it out of here, out of my mind for the moment. And so that's one of the great things that's come from this endeavor, is not just the sharing and not reaching all the countries and all the cities, but the fact that this right here is raw. You see me in the white t-shirt, or you'll hear me if you're on the podcast, on the audio side. We come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes I'm gonna be dressed up. Sometimes I'm gonna have Voices for Voices logo, clothing, textiles, accessories on. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes we're going to film at night. Sometimes we're going to film in the morning. Sometimes we're going to film in the middle of the day. But I think this is one of the blessings that I may have been taken for granted, and that's this show and what it's doing. That it's, and this isn't me narcissistic and saying I'm better than anybody. It's not. But if somebody has a show and is a host and they don't feel that they're helping others, but then also helping themselves, then it becomes burnout. And then it just becomes, well, I need to check off that box. I got to check that off that box. We do that. We all do that from time to time. I do that from time to time. But a majority is not that. It's, I got this thought. I got this anniversary that's coming up. Just amazing where time goes. I look down and we're at like 24 minutes. So yeah, the stigma's still there, mental health. So you're gonna continue at various points of our show and our social media posts and TikToks and all the different media. You're gonna hear us continue to talk and share about that, because there's still the stigma. It's still there, and big tech is still censoring. It's unfortunate. But they are. And so I am going through depression. I am Justin Allen Hayes. I am the founder and executive director of Voices for Voices. And I hope to be an inspiration to you or to somebody you know, um, that you can do it, whatever that is. Uh, Short of bankrupting and doing things illegal, we're going to share and talk about content, and we're going to share that with you. Again, we're going to hit 300 episodes by the end of 2025, and it just blows my mind to think that we're going to do that, to think that we're on the cusp of hitting 200 on the way to 300. So one of the hopes is the big tech doesn't censor. So when somebody like myself or you is sharing in the hopes of inspiring, letting people know, hey, you're not alone, that maybe we'll get to a day where we're able to not have those things censored. So it's pretty deep content, things we're talking about. And so some things you may see on the surface that we'll talk about. And then sometimes we're going to really dig deep, and that's what this episode is really about. It's, again, just being transparent. We'll go down maybe a little rabbit hole, but then we'll come back to the main topic of the show, the particular show, the episode that we're filming. Yeah, and then really, you're not alone. Whether you've been diagnosed or not, it's beside the fact. We're all going through something. We all have gone through things. And I'll just leave that there. So again, thank you for joining us. If you can give us a big thumbs up, if you can subscribe, like, share, check out our merch shop, voicesforvoices.org. Go up to what you do or what we do, and then you'll see shop. You click on shop and it'll take you. We have so many great articles, from notebooks to sweatpants to long sleeve shirts to short sleeve shirts to hoodies to stickers. Yeah, check that out if you're able to. And if you're able to donate, you can find us on Venmo at Voices for Voices, as well as you can head to voicesforvoices.org, and right there at the kind of top middle of the homepage, you'll see an icon say you can support us in the show, because there is infrastructure, there is software, there are cameras, there are editings that we do have to go through. And I'll just say, Dan Bongino, one of the biggest people in the podcasting space, who's joining the Trump administration. So again, one of the biggest podcasters. And he talks about the infrastructure he has. Well, we have infrastructure as well. Anybody has any type of show, there's some type of infrastructure, from the camera to the microphones to the editing to what's going to be the cover of that particular episode, what's the description, what are the hashtags, what are the keywords, all those things have to happen. So where we can, we like to use a little bit of help, maybe a little bit of AI here and there, but it's all raw. So until next time, please be a voice for you or somebody in need.